Now, I know what you're gonna say. Well, you didn't say that about Sony. The Sony problem here, I don't care if their games go to other places. The problem is it ain't no games.
They're just not
go
putting out
anywhere.
Games. They're not putting out games.
There's no games.
Well,
I don't care if they go other places, but there's no games to go anywhere. And they said that it's not going to be anything until at least April of next year.
Well, funny you say that, because that leads right into our next news story. This story comes from Andy Robinson over at VGC. Sony expects PS5 sales to decline, and there's also no existing major franchise titles before April of 2025.
Ridiculous.
Sony says it expects PlayStation 5 hardware sales to gradually decline during its next fiscal year, which runs from April 2024 to March 2025, and confirmed its plans to release no major existing franchise titles during this 12-month period. In the company's financial results for the 3 months ended December 31st, 2023, Sony Gaming Division reported another record quarter in terms of revenue, with PS5 sales reaching 54.7 million, but lowered its sales forecast for the year after it fell behind in its lofty hardware target. Sony Interactive Entertainment had set an ambitious sales target of 25 million PS5s for the year ending March 2024. However, in the latest quarter, it sold 8.2 million consoles, bringing the total for the year to 16.4. The company said it now expects to fall short of its original target by 4 million units. The corporation now expects 210 billion yen in sales for the year from its game and network services segment, a 5% downward revision, which it said was partly due to a decrease in sales and an increase in losses from hardware due to promotions. Editors note also, because when they jacked up prices on PlayStation Network last year, a lot of people canceled because they said, screw you, Sony. They're not saying that here, but that's probably another reason they took a big hit.
Not only that, the console themselves got a price increase, remember?
Yeah, you're right. The digital version went up $50. So the digital version of the console got more expensive, and their online services got more expensive. And a lot of people said, peace.
I'm out.
Regarding PS5 hardware, which will enter its 5th year since launch, said Sony President, COO, and CFO Hiroki Totoki, partially due to entering the latter half of the console cycle, we're aiming to optimize sales with a greater emphasis on balance with profits. So we expect a gradual decline in unit sales from next fiscal year onwards. Regarding first-party software, we aim to continue to focus on producing high-quality productions and producing live service games, but while major projects are currently under development... I know, they say that. While major projects are currently under development... Like what? Tell us.
Spider-Man?
We do not...
And then what?
We do not plan to release any new major existing franchise titles next fiscal year like God of War Ragnarok and Marvel Spider-Man 2. Let's see, blah 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 blah. There's just stuff. Look, it's just a bunch of numbers. The rest of the articles just talking about like specific numbers. But
shout out to Sean Layden, dude, who should have been the CEO of PlayStation. And I'm not saying that in hindsight. Like, we knew that before they installed Jim Ryan in there, right?
Yeah.
Sean has been saying and says to this day, if you follow him on Twitter, that Sony doing these gigantic 5-year, $300 million, $500 million games is not sustainable. It's not the way to go.
No. And
he is absolutely vindicated right now. They 100%. Have nothing to show for this entire year from their first party studios. That's crazy.
And so now this is like we talked about last news segment. We got a lot of hate for this. Everyone's saying like, oh, you guys are just complaining over there. You Sony fanboys, like, just suck it up. It's like, okay, let's look at what we've gotten. And like, realistically, PS5 exclusive Sony productions, like exclusive games, like we've not.
You ready for the list? Here we go. Spider-Man 2.
Like last year, yeah, we got Spider-Man 2. The year before that, we got God of War Ragnarok. And
also on PS4, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Hang on. I'm going to bring up a list because a lot of the comments were like, they could only name 2. They don't know anything. So it's like, you know what? I'll get an official list for it. PS5
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Exclusives. Here we go. Here's what we're going to do.
You ready? Because there's 3. I can tell you the 3. You ready?
All right. So we got
Demon Souls.
Astro's.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, so this list has Astro's Playroom.
Technically, yeah.
It's more
yes.
It's.
I'll give you that.
It's
one.
a fantastic
I'll give you that one as a freebie.
It's a fantastic, but it's a stretch.
I'll give you that one as a freebie.
Demon Souls, which is
2.
a remake,
Mind you, this is $500 you have to put in.
Yeah.
$500, okay? So go ahead. We got two games in 4 going in the 5th year. Go ahead.
Destruction All-Stars. You remember that hit game?
Wow. Whoa.
We got Forspoken. No, that's not even a PlayStation exclusive.
That's not
Sony
PS
Studio. Okay, we got Spider-Man.
And it's on PC.
Exactly, yeah. Spider-Man Remastered. But it's exactly that. It's on PC and is also remastered. Spider-Man 2, Ratchet and Clank
coming to PC.
Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which is on PC. It wasn't at the time, but it is now on.
Okay,
on
so
PC.
I'll give you that. What is that? We're at 3 now.
Returnal is very good.
4.
It's also on PC, but that's a very
also
good
on PC
game.
though.
Very good game. Let's see. They have Last of Us Part 1.
Horizon cross-gen.
They have Last of Us Part 1 and 2, but they were PS4 games that they just brought to PS5. They're not new games. That's it. That's it. So the 3 games. This article.
Gran Turismo, which is also on PS4.
Okay, so we had God of War, Gran Turismo, Ratchet and Clank. What else did we say? Demon Souls, which is a remake technically, but we'll give it to them because it's mostly new. Kind of. Spider-Man 2. So in 5 years, we've gotten 5 games. Basically.
3 of which are on other consoles.
God of War Ragnarok, yeah.
One of which is a direct remake of an older game.
Yeah.
Horizon's on PS4. Gran Turismo's on PS4. God of War is on PS4. Demon Souls is a remake. So realistically, if we want to do 1-for-1s, you got Returnal, which is now also on PC. You got Ratchet and Clank, which is now also on PC. And then what else? Astro's Playroom. So you want me to pay $500 for 2.5 games?
Yeah.
You're out of your gourd.
And I want to clarify, because again, we got comments about what do you complain about? There's a lot of good games. These are all fantastic games. This entire list. And we're not complaining about the quality of the games or even the number of the games. It's, again, we, just like you Xbox fans, are looking for reasons to keep your Xbox after games are going to other consoles. People who have PlayStations also are looking for reasons to spend $500 on a console as well. And at this point, I put less than 10 hours on my console last year, and I played it for an hour the other day to play a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo. Which is also headed to PC, just like the first one was. Exactly. It will probably be coming. Actually, at the end of the trailer, it says it's only exclusive until March. Or not March, May, at the end of May. So it's like this summer it could be coming to PC. So I just want to clarify, we are not saying that these games are bad or that there's not a shortage of games per se. The shortage is in that the PlayStation 5 exclusivity giving me a reason to keep this box. Because if the trend is they're going to, and again, they're going to play best on PlayStation, but the savings on my wallet and also the ease of access of having it just on my PC or on my Steam Deck is enticing. It is enticing to sell my console and just be able to play on my Steam Deck a year later.
From my point of view, honestly, it's not that these games are going to other other platforms like PC. Right. I don't care that they're going to other platforms. I don't care. The problem is there is nothing coming.
That's the other thing too. Yeah.
Even if it was going to other places, I would be fine with that. But there is nothing even coming to go to other platforms.
All we know about is Wolverine.
And that's what, 2026?
And Fizzant. Kojima Productions Fizzant.
That's PS6. That's PS6. I'm not even gonna humor that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So at this point, it's like in the past, a lot of those games went to PS4 as well or PC. And then now looking to the future, we got 1 game. Maybe 2 if Kojima really smokes, I don't know, all the drugs and
all the peyote.
He's just up there writing furiously, editing like a madman on his computer. That's the only way that's gonna happen.
No, man.
So that's it. I guess it's just trying to justify this console that sits here that I put less than 10 hours in last year. It's kind of wild.
Do you think now that we're going into its 5th year and he said they've only sold about 50 something million, right? Do you think it hits 100 before PS6 comes out? Is this the first PlayStation mainline console that? Oh no, wait, PS3 didn't.
If they were continuing to pump, if they were continuing to pump more and more games into it, like if there was more regular releases that were actually like gave me a reason to buy PlayStation 5, like if they really stuck to their guns with exclusivity, just like they did in previous generations. Again, and I'm not against games going to other places, but if they want to hit that a record like that again, they kind of have to be more exclusive. Unfortunately, that's timed. So I think if they were continuing their push with lots of games, then yes, they could hit that. And because I feel like with this announcement, they're telling everyone that they're kind of giving up. They're just like, hey, sales are going to be declining, no games in the next year. And so it's kind of like they're just laying down and dying a little bit. I feel like if they would have just doubled down and just like, no, let's get some games out there and get stuff going, I think they could have hit the 100 million mark. They could have. Yeah,
it's almost as if, if they had smaller games that didn't take as much time and didn't take nearly as much money, they could have made more smaller games and had a consistent flow of software coming in. But here we are.
Let me see. Hang on. I just got something in the chat over on YouTube. What is Sony doing? What release? Oh, that's great. There's an interesting question. What if Sony's Jim Ryan would have released his PS5 only games he announced when PS5 was launching, and he said he wouldn't play PS4 titles? I think what they're trying to get at is, remember how there's all these games they said are going to be PS5 exclusive, PS5 only?
Yeah, we believe in generations. I remember it well.
Yeah, that was his exact quote. We believe in generations here at PlayStation.
Yeah.
And then the whole like first 2 or 3 years of games were like, well, actually they're coming to PS4. And then like a year, then like a year and a half later, and they're also coming to PC. It's like, all right, Jim. All right. cool.
What are we right? You know what? I'm just gonna walk everything I said right on back.
Yeah. It's like if they would have stuck to their guns, I really think, which is hard to say.
It would have did gangbusters.
So here's the thing. I'm glad that games are more widely available.
Of course.
I'm a huge Sony fan. Don't get me wrong. I love Sony, love PlayStation, but I also love people being able to play games. So I'm happy that games are on PlayStation. I'm happy that games are and PC and all these other PS4 even. Like, great, bring it around. But if they really wanted to kill sales and break records and do what they've done in the past, they needed to continue on the same trend they've done for the past 30 years and just be like, nope, games come out on our system and that's it. Like they kind of needed to stick to their guns in that. And they didn't. And I don't think that's necessarily a positive or a negative. I just think that's the reason that they're having troubles now with sales. This
also kind of flies in the face of, there's been the argument that, well, there are some people who they just don't want to play on PC. They just want a console, which is valid.
That's great.
Don't get me wrong.
That's how I was for years.
But where are these people who just want to play on a console? If they only sold 50 million, clearly that's not necessarily the full case, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, true. Or they're just playing games on the PS4 because they still have PS4.
Which honestly, I can't be mad at you
because they keep releasing them.
It's gonna take forever to load, but you have most of the PS5 slate already.
Yeah, there's only a handful that didn't go over, and it's like a remake, Demon Souls and Astro Bot,
which you could technically play.
Yeah, you could play the original.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah.
Wild.
It's unfortunate. I mean, and before they're trashing on so. Xbox is in a similar. They are in a similar situation. Good person.
Yeah,
good listener.
I think that's why they have a hard time with selling their console as well, and why they keep like falling behind in sales is because day one their games are always available on both Xbox and PC, and then they also have Game Pass, and they and again, people are gonna think like just because I say that they're falling behind in sales, like it's such a negative thing. That's not necessarily a negative thing because they're falling
still
in
selling units.
They are still selling units, but what I was going to say is they're still making billions of dollars off of services. So it's like who and having games on multiple platforms. So I don't think any of this is bad. A lot of people are all doom and gloom, like, oh, PlayStation's losing or Xbox is losing. Like, oh my God. It's like, no. Yeah, they're not doing as good as they normally do in specific areas, but you look in other areas and they're making so much more money because their games are available on PC now, or their games are going to Nintendo in the sense of with Xbox, stuff like that.
Also, let's keep it a buck. I just want to do that on the Xbox side as well. The tentpole games that they have brought out for this generation, let's call it spade a spade, they were not bangers.
Yeah, it's been iffy so far with
some not by any stretch. Some were pretty good, but pretty good when you're coming up against, the stiff competition like that ain't good enough.
Yeah. But there are rumors that apparently Sony could be releasing a new Astrobot game this year, because technically their statement was no major franchises coming out in the next year. So
right.
Again, this comes from Jeff Grubbs. Take it with a grain. I would say grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt, because sometimes he just says things and then people call it a rumor when really it's just an idea he had.
Every time he can't sneeze and then it'll be a headline.
So I don't know whether this is an actual rumor or if it's just a crazy idea he had and then people ran with it. But apparently, yeah, he seems to think like the verbiage is important because they did say major franchises, and he's thinking, we already know Rise of the Ronin is coming. We know that Concord, one of the live service games, is scheduled to come out this year. That's the stuff that's scheduled for sure, he said. And then it's like there might be new game entries and franchises that already exist. They just not be major in PlayStation's eyes, like God of War. They said God of War, they said Spider-Man. These are franchises they sell 15 million copies lifetime or more. Grubb added, I've heard maybe Astros does happen this year. So if that happens, that's pretty big for me. I get why Sony's not thinking that's a major one for us, at least not yet. Hopefully they could turn it into a major one, and then a lot of this changes around. I am 100% down. I loved Astro's Playroom that came on the PS5. Like we talked about.
That's what I was going to say too.
We talked about it just like 10 minutes ago or whatever. But that was honestly when I first got my PS5. I remember coming on the podcast and talking to you and Adrian and being like, guys, Astro's Playroom is like one of the greatest games ever made. And you guys were both like, that's not a game. It's like it's a shows off the blah, 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 the features. And I don't think you had a PS5 yet. I think and Adrian did, or sorry, JJ did. And he was just like, are you kidding me? This is so dumb. And then I remember when you finally got a PlayStation and you played it.
I don't remember being this negative on it. I remember being neutral and being like,
you guys were giving me a hard time.
It's I feel like I said, I have heard that people are saying it's a tech demo, but I don't remember straight up dismissing it like that. I wouldn't do that about a game.
Your eyes were opened when you finally played it. And you're like,
oh, that I will not dispute that with you.
And
I said that, and I still say that to this day. Astrobot's Playroom is the best PS5 game there is. Hands down.
It is fantastic.
Hands down.
Like that's one of those.
And it's only half the size and half the length of an actual like full-on PS5 title. And it blows the doors off 95% of the other ones.
It's so good.
However, even if there was a new Astrobot Playroom game or a new Astrobot game, it's still not $500 worth for me.
Oh no.
I cannot.
That doesn't justify the price tag for sure, but it would be nice.
As much as I would absolutely love to play it, love to play it, $500 is way too much for one game.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, where are we at here? Ooh, we are going long.
Are we in the weeds?
Yeah, a little bit. We're all right. Real quick here, we actually got one last comment. So we'll read it real quick here before we move on. Sony is in discount development mode, but using already existing Astro's Playroom assets and making another game for them equal low-cost game creating, making new revenue. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like that could be the case where it's just reused assets to an extent, but
if it's good, who cares?
Yeah, if it's a good game, like I don't know, like that, and that's so. That's what we kind of talked about earlier on in the show. You were talking about Sean Layden's comments where the 5-year multi-million-dollar like development cycle isn't sustainable for the long run. Like reusing assets is fine as long as it's a good game, right? Like, there's nothing
God of War
wrong.
Ragnarok.
Like, make a good story and good fun gameplay. Like, that's fine. Like, that's what game studios used to do for decades. It's not until the last like 5 to 8 years that all of a sudden it's like, or 5 to 10 years maybe, where all of a sudden it's like it's bad to do that. That used to be the norm, and people were fine with it. And loved it.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Everybody used to do that back in the day.
Yeah, everyone did it.
And you just didn't realize it because you were too young to understand that they were doing the same thing, or they were using flipping assets in creative ways to make sure you didn't notice it.
Yeah.
But they were absolutely doing that.
So I'm not against it as long as they do it well. Like, yeah, reuse assets to make new games. Keep it low cost to you. Because what that means is, yeah, exactly what our problem here is. There's nothing on the slate. And so if we could have more games on the slate here to give me a reason to play this console, and as long as, again, the quality is kept up, because they have great writers over there, they got good developers who know how to use assets and reuse assets if they need to. That would be great. So honestly, I'm not opposed to that. Like, as long as it's good. If it's just recycled garbage, like, all right, this is the same world. Like, that sucks. But it's like,
you know what would have been sick? If Sony gave their studios like a directive. You know what I mean? Like if for example, they sent out a blast directive and they're like, every studio has 2 years to come up with a 6-hour game.
That'd be cool.
I don't care what it is.
Almost like a game.
What it's about.
Almost like a 24-hour game jam, but it's like,
in a sense,
but it's spread out. Like, you got 2 years, but like, just make a solid, like 6 to 10 hour game.
That way you get a game from every studio and it's 6 hours, and you can do like one game a quarter and still have something coming out.
It doesn't even need to be
the third party.
It doesn't even need to be like a big major franchise. Make it like a fun little passion project thing every
as long as they know it's from a PlayStation studio, they'll eat it up.
Have a small team on that, and then the major team still working on the big stuff. Like, dude, that would be sick. That would be really cool.
I was saying the major team do that.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like it could almost be like an indie studio within the studio kind of thing. Like, hey, like, so that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could.
But I don't know. That would be cool. All right, let's hit this.
That's what I would do. I'd do stuff like that if I was.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan or Hiroki Totoki, something like that. That way we can have games in 2024.
Right.
You know, but
have something this year.
Who am I?
Thank you so much for watching that clip from our podcast. Remember, if you want to watch the whole episode, the full episode, link will be in the description below. You can click on that and check it out. We got listener questions. We got more news segments. We got what you playing. We got a lot of fun things. So yeah, more than just the news. There's a lot more to the show that you should go check out. So remember, click that link in the description. Check out that full episode.